Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey, welcome everyone. Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. If we couldn't do this if it wasn't for you, thank you so much for coming on and hanging on. Got a great topic today. Band-Aids only work on small cuts. Oh, can't wait to introduce you to Ron and Gerry. But first, we're going to be in Ontario at the AARO event. Great event, September 12th through the 14th. A lot of insightful business training to cutting-edge technical Lindard Tech training. They've got something for everyone there. Join me and Tracy at the exclusive reception and trade show at the AARO. This event's going to sell out fast, so secure your spot at aaro.ca. Yeah, Ontario, Canada. And look, we all know someone who's been affected by breast cancer. And did you know that our aftermarket service repair industry has an initiative started by two shop owners? It's Breaks for Breasts, which has so far raised $1.8 million for a vaccine for triple negative breast cancer. 100% of every dollar and every penny donated goes directly to research at the Cleveland Clinic. We need your help and involvement as the vaccine is in clinical trials. I was hanging out with some shop owners this week, and they're talking about Breaks for Breasts on that panel, and I was just blown away, so excited about hearing that. Go to breaksforbreast.com and enroll your shop in this cause. Let me introduce you to my panel, and let me introduce you to Gerry Frank first, only because Gerry Frank is first, because Laura Frank was one of the originators of Breaks for Breast. You guys are great peoples.
I was going to say, Carm, I know kind of one of those young ladies that started that movement.
Yes, you do. And great, Laura Frank, and of course, Leanne Best out of Cleveland. Great story behind it. We're going to get ready to do a podcast soon. And just to throw this up in everyone's as an opportunity to do things not only for your clients, your customers, about this whole brakes thing. It's about getting your customers free brakes and how that works. But it's also for this most incredible cause because they're in their second phase of clinical trials out at the Cleveland Clinic. And we've been to the last couple of checks presentations. So honored always to be there, Tracy and I. Ron Ipach, welcome, sir.
Howdy. How's things going?
Hey, it's great, Ron. Maverick Shop Owners is the company that both Gerry and Ron lead as far as coaching companies. And I read an article from Ron a while back about a leaky bucket. And it was great. I read it to the complete end, and I can't remember how many pages, or was it on the web? I don't remember, but I immediately stopped reading it, and I reached out to Ron and Gerry, and I says, come on, let's talk about the leaky bucket. And basically, it's about a Band-Aid that you need to always have for small cuts because you're always going to have them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really the way we look at it. And everybody has a leaky bucket, and the leaky bucket is their business. That's the reason why people are working really hard to get ahead, and they don't seem like they're getting where they need to go. So the leaky bucket, I guess, for everybody that isn't aware of the concept of it. So think of it as a bucket with a lot of holes in it, and you're doing everything you possibly can to put more and more water into that bucket. Well, since we're all business owners here, we're putting more customers, more car count, more money into that bucket. Sometimes when you step away from the business, if you don't have the business set up right, or you have those holes in the bucket, you turn around and all the water leaks back out of the bucket. And you're like, what the heck just happened? What did I do all that work for? Well, the thing you need to do is understand that business is constantly evolving. You are always going to be exposing new holes in the bucket, as you get better and better and better at running the business, at better car count, profitability, all these different things. The bucket is finally going to start raising up a little bit because you're going to fix those holes, the big gaping holes that are in the bottom. In other words, you got to fix the first things first in the bottom of that bucket so that it can start rising up a little bit more. So you pour some water in there. It's like, oh, I got a leak there. Let's fix that one. And the only way you're going to fill that bucket up is to either dump a ton of energy and money and time into the top of that bucket, or you can just start fixing the holes in the bucket and let the bucket start filling up that way.
Yeah. Great point. Thank you so much. When I think about, I'm a member of an independent group here in Buffalo. We meet every month. there's a lot of positivity in this group, but every once in a while we hear the negatives, and we say, well, yeah, you're in a better town than I am. And I hear this stuff so much. Well, because you live in a more richer town, and I don't, I'm in the country. There's so much going on. The echo chamber is crazy, Ron, Gerry. And I just want to know, how can we have widely different successes in almost sometimes in the same marketplace than others? Naysayers, yaysayers. We've got to figure out how to handle that.
We got a shop owner, a member of ours, that purchased his second location. I don't know exactly how many feet away it was, but I think it's like 1,000 feet away in California. So his shop was bursting at the seams, and he purchased a failing business 1,000 feet away. So you can take a look at the average repair order. The shop that he purchased was, half of what his existing shop was. And I'm sure that shop owner had all of those same excuses. This is a bad town. My customers won't spend any money, all of that. And again, you can see that really that's just all BS.
Ron, I want you to pick up on that. But recently, I've got this weird thing going on in my mind. I'm always trying, I love metaphors. I always try to rethink things up here, because I'll never stay current. I'm a perpetual student. I always love to learn things. And I was playing around with these 3 sentences. Work with me. This is the first time I'm ever talking about it.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Thank you. It's not what you think. It's not what you hear, but it's what you do. And if you think about the echo chamber that we have, the DIY YouTube stuff that we can go to and figure things out, we can hear it, we can think it. And if it works for us, and if it feels right, and we don't do anything, you're just wasting your damn time.
It's the difference between information and implementation.
Yeah.
So think about it. We live in the information age. Right now, I honestly feel that ignorance is a choice. And I don't mean ignorance in a bad way, but that's just the word. It just got a bad sound to it. You can find literally anything on anything online within minutes. You could work off of somebody else's expertise. So in other words, you're starting from the top of the mountain instead of the bottom, trying to figure everything out. The problem is you wind up it's an information overload. It's like, what do you need to learn first? And then to go back to the leaky bucket, you've got all these holes in the bucket. What do you start fixing first? You have to fix the biggest problems first that are leaking out of there. But we wind up getting information on something and then thinking, oh, well, I need more information. I need more information here. I need more information. And we wind up just gathering information, but not pulling the trigger. And I think the reason why that is because change is hard. Anytime that you need to make your business better and take your business to the next level, it requires you to make a change. And a change requires you to get outside of your comfort zone. So a lot of times, the only information that we act on are things that we're really comfortable with. And the reality is that the things that you're most uncomfortable with are the things that are going to give you the best traction.
Yeah. Gerry, are we just spending too much time on minutia? And how do we determine what minutia is to us?
One of my favorite quotes, and it's by Mike Michalowicz from his book, Fix This Next. Now, you might know Mike from his book, Profit First. Everybody's heard of that. If not, take out a pen and paper and write that down, Profit First. You got to read it.
Wait a minute. I got to stop you. Great thought. I think tomorrow we're releasing a Profit First update with some shop owners that just believe in that as a religion. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, very nice. Fantastic book. But one of his newer books you may not have heard of is Fix This Next. And one of the quotes from that book, and it may be on the very first page, and it rings true to my heart, he basically says, the biggest problem most small business owners have is they don't know what their biggest problem is. And I find that to be so true. Often we're in firefighting mode. I imagine that picture's Ron talking about that bucket and we're putting Band-Aids all over it, trying to stop all of these little small leaks. You miss the large leak that's really draining that out. And what he talks about in that book is he uses Maslow's hierarchy of needs and kind of sets it up for a business owner. So when you look at the bottom of that pyramid, I want you to think about that pyramid. On the bottom of that, there's the simple things, sales and profits. And to me, those are so simple to fix. We can get you more sales. We can get you more money. But as you start to climb up that pyramid, it starts to deal with the actual shop owner, right? Leadership. When you talk about things, how do I improve technician efficiency? Those types of things, or how do I build a winning team? Those take a little bit more skill. And that's one of the biggest holes I feel in the bucket. And that really is kind of working on the individual shop owner, taking a look in the mirror.
I kind of look at it a little bit differently. Great minds think differently, I think, but we're all working on the same thing. I look at it as a car and a driver, so every business has an owner, and that's the driver of that business. And the car is actually the vehicle to get them to wherever they want to go with the business. So whether it's freedom, it's time off, it's significance, it's money, it's all those things in Maslow's hierarchy of needs that Gerry just talked about. But, when you look at the auto repair business, you can have two businesses in the exact same town, across the street from each other, exact same customer pool, exact same technician pool, access to resources, everything. But one is doing wildly well and the other is struggling to make a dent in the business. And why is that? Well, as you can kind of see, we're leaning a little bit more towards the driver of the business, because access to information is there. It's up to the owner to actually take the ball and roll with it. So think of it this way: NASCAR. Okay, let's get on a NASCAR track. Every race, those vehicles are practically identical. I know some people are going to tell me, all the little small nuances, but for all intents and purposes, those vehicles are identical at the start. Now, if you or I got in one of those cars and they started the race, how would we do? Probably pretty bad. I know personally I would, and I think I'm a pretty good driver.
Yeah,
but
the skill of the driver, baby.
100%, but that information is there. And sometimes people want to jump way ahead and they take a little bit of information and they become the expert overnight. And they go out and they fail miserably on there because they just don't quite have the skill. And sometimes they don't have the guts, because I don't know about you, but I've driven a car, 160 miles an hour, and I was scared to death. Now, imagine doing that, maybe adding more miles per hour to it, but driving that far away from another car. Well, there's a reason why I wouldn't win that race, is because I don't have the skill. I don't have the courage. And that's all outside the comfort zone. So when you think of it, it's not a matter of you can't do it. It's you have to stick with it long enough and practice it long enough and develop that skill and keep going and keep going. And pretty soon, 150 miles an hour is like driving 55, because you've done it for so long. That speed doesn't matter. So now you're able to inch the speed up a little bit more.
Okay, I got to stop you for there, because you just said a huge word: courage. And I can't imagine, as coaches, when you take on a new client or you've got a legacy individual and you've watched them grow so they can go 155, you got them out of that 55 route up to, added 100 miles an hour to their life, to their business, to their ability to lead, and they have courage. Is that one of the most critical factors of a great leader in turning a business into being a superstar business, is having the courage to do?
I think, Carm, absolutely. As I said before, I think when we first start working with a shop owner, I'm a numbers guy at heart. So I'm going to have you send me in your P&Ls, your financials, all of that kind of stuff, your business management reports, because I got to make sure that the foundation is strong, right? Yes, our profitability is good. It doesn't do any good to add more customers if we don't have a good average repair order and profitability. So we start with the basics. But then, as I said, when you get into the leadership, the big leaps and bounds are those maybe You called it courage, but I'm going to even call maybe those crucial conversations. How do I get more out of my employees? Those types of things. How do I improve my technician efficiency? How do I have those difficult one-on-ones? How do I hold people accountable? I can tell you, give you many, many examples of just maybe giving somebody the courage or that little pep talk to take that next step. We kind of rehearse it with them, and then they're able to go and have that one-on-one with the employee. Ron, when you were talking about that NASCAR driver, every one of them, with very few exceptions to my knowledge, and I'm not a big NASCAR fan, but with very few exceptions, they all have a coach working with them, trying to improve their skill on those things, not just step on the pedal and go fast. That's profit and, the average ticket and the sales, but it's all of those little details that you need to get that courage to have those conversations with those people.
And change and to get to stay on the courage thing, I mentioned stepping outside the comfort zone and doing something different is a scary thing, and when you try to do that on your own with the limited knowledge that everybody has, we build on our own knowledge and we can go out and get all kinds of free information on there, but do we trust it? Are we doing the right thing? Are we even working on the right thing right now? Are we spending too much time on that? So I think, it really does come to the owner to, figure out what their why is, what their driver is. Why are they going to get up out of bed every single day and deal with what they do every single day and make at least an inch further on their destination to where they want to go? Not have the same day over and over and over again.
John Maxwell, the law of the lid.
Yeah.
And he talks about, in one of his many books or whatever about, often a business will only grow to the point of the leader. And that's the lid on most shops. As that leader grows, and we see it, we get together with our members, and usually when I see that big turning point, and sometimes it's quick, it happens fast. Others, It takes a little bit more. Some people have more courage than other people. But, as that business owner starts to grow, and it usually, I would say almost always, it's a defining moment. Either that hard conversation, that hard fire, right? We get comfortable, we hang on to the wrong people and they're wrong. Finally, maybe you get in enough pain where you have to make that move. Or on the flip side of that key hire, how many times do we hear, I could never afford that type of technician. I could never afford to pay somebody that much. And they get the courage to be able to go ahead and do that, and their business changes dramatically.
Hey, AAPEX 2024 registration is now open at AAPEXshow.com. Now, AAPEX has an incredible value for the service professional, shop owner, technician, and service advisor. Joe's Garage is your place to hang out with 10 working bays and real live working conditions. You'll find special seminars on Audi, VW, BMW, Mercedes, Tesla, under-the-hood diagnostics, advanced drivability, ADAS calibration, transmission training from ATRA, and more. Business and sales training on mastering organizational skills, time management, leading your team, and driving profits, among others. This year, the training courses are some of the best offered ever with the industry's best and brightest trainers and coaches. This year's AAPEX 2024 will have more product demos, trending training, marketing and social media support to help you grow your career, sales, and profits. Remember, if you earn your living in the aftermarket, then AAPEX is the expo for you. Continue listening as we bring you the latest from AAPEX 2024. And save the date, November 5th through the 7th. Don't hesitate. Go to AAPEXshow.com. Hey, let's face it. Your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing Trax to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, we'll be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA Trax, that's NAPATRACS.com. Hey, ever wonder how your labor rate compares to your market and state? You now have a site where you can confidentially upload your rate and see other labor rates published in your market. LaborRateTracker.com is an important site to know about. Currently, the database has over 1,000 shops participating and growing every day. But there's more to setting your rates than finding out what others charge. You should look at the labor rates in your state and town to gain a complete picture of the labor rate landscape. Hey, it's easy. Get market intelligence like never before at LaborRateTracker.com. I wrote down the words return on courage. Why it impacts me is that there are people out there that every once in a while they need a new word salad in order to say, oh my God, it's not return on investment. Gerry's pounding me. He's a numbers guy. It's return on investment. But about return on your courage, the courage to make these decisions that ultimately will give Gerry what he's happy about. He wants an return on investment. But for you, you see people blossom, customers coming in, exceptional customer service. And it took really tough decisions. And how did you get there? You had to have the courage. God, it's the lion from the Wizard of Oz, guys.
Well, you said something before that speaks to this as well, is that voice, that, you just started this as a hobby, things like that. I think that's the biggest thing we have to overcome is the way we talk to ourselves unconsciously. We don't realize that we have that person inside telling us that we're not good enough, that we don't have enough information, that maybe we should take it slower or whatever. I mean, our brains are programmed, our minds are there to keep us safe, right? And that's the way, through evolution and everything, we just want to make sure that's not a lion rustling the bushes, that it's just wind. So we're always looking for danger out there. That voice inside, when Gerry tells somebody to change their parts matrix or to work on the profitability, things like that, the voice says, but do you really need to? Aren't we just fine? Isn't this just okay? Mm-hmm. Why do we got to do this? This seems a little scary. I don't want to step outside the comfort zone. I'll start tomorrow. How about next week? Oh, I got somebody on vacation next week. How about the weekend after? So we have that voice inside us that we just don't pay attention to, that's directing us. Again, trying to keep us safe. It's not trying to be detrimental, but it is detrimental to our success. Yeah. And the courage is to say, stop it, shut up, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
I hear you. And then I write down the word belief. You were trying to convince me, Ron Carmi, you got to make these steps, baby. And I can't muster the courage to do it because I don't believe it will help me. This is such great dialogue for an individual who's struggling. Even a successful individual who wants to go to the next level, does he believe he could get there? And number two, does he have the courage to make the decisions to go to that next level? I'm excited about this discussion. We started out talking about a leaky bucket and Band-Aids, and now we're talking about life's greatest moments. Back to Maxwell, Gerry, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Go to my books page on the website. You can see the book and or buy it. And I think he did do a specific book on the lid, the law of the lid. And I think to everyone's point here is what a great way to build belief and courage is to talk about the lid. It's perfect.
Yeah, the biggest challenge, and we all know that, is if you want to call it the man in the mirror. I have found the enemy and he is me, right? But Ron, to your point about self-talk, right? So many times our self-talk is negative. And just a quick little story or something that really worked for me. How many of us as shop owners, and again, I was a shop owner for over 30 plus years, we go through our day in, day out, same routine, and we really aren't making a difference. Did my business get any better? Did that trajectory change at all? Carm, you started off the podcast with one thing, right? Learn just one thing. And I'm going to say, do just one thing. If we can just do one thing, not that, it doesn't have to be this giant step, but do one thing and it changes the trajectory. A little nugget that worked for me and made a really profound difference in my life as a shop owner is, instead of going in every day and just doing the same thing, being in firefighting mode and those types of things, I added the word intentional. And I would sit in my car before I walked in the shop. Now, again, this takes a little bit of pre-planning. You got to think about it the day before and things like that. But before I walked through that door, I asked myself, what am I going to be intentional about today? And sometimes it's simple things, catching people doing things right. Often as shop owners, I feel we're the policemen on the side of the road just waiting to hand out tickets. You're looking for everybody doing things wrong. I made it a point to try to catch people doing things right. Maybe it was critiquing a few phone calls or things like that, but that word intentionality really resonated with me.
Totally agree. Well, look at this, everyone. I brought it to the studio. Just one thing, Gerry. And I have to tell you a couple of key pointers that came out of this book for me. By the way, I take key points in the book, in the front couple of jackets. And success list versus a to-do list. That came from the book. Love that part. And how about this? The magic does not happen in the middle, but in the extremes. And there's one other really cool part. It's extraordinary results are rarely happenstance. You basically have to work for it. So it's a great book. I read this thing like really quick. It was just a wonderful book. Just one thing from Gary Keller with Jay Papasan. Thank you for bringing that up.
A quick thing that I thought about as you were bringing that up, because I read that book, although it was several years ago, but I read something this morning, and it's just weird how things get kind of just land in your brain or on your radar. Leadership is a verb, not a noun. And wow, I want you to think about that, because so many of us, because our name is above the door, we think that they're going to listen to me because they're a boss. I'm the boss, and that's the way it's got to be. But it comes by showing, by action. That's how people follow you.
Leadership and the ownership. The book I always like to refer to is Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
Because it's a great book. If you haven't read it yet, or I highly recommend the audio version of it, because it just seems that much more thrilling to listen to that book. But that extreme ownership is ultimately comes down to you. And being an owner it's a place that most people will never, ever step into. So everybody that's watching this right now, that is an owner right now, you got to understand you've done something that most people would be scared to death to do. I mean, you created a business, you created an income that not only feeds your family, puts clothes on your kids, gets them through college, things like that. But as an owner, you also are responsible for your employees and getting their kids housed and clothed and things like that. I mean, you've taken on this extreme situation that most people would shy away from. So you have the courage to do whatever it is you want to do. You just got to go back and harness what it was that got you started into this business. And sometimes we kind of get to a point where we become comfortable. If we think of all the things we did to get the business started, all the hours we put in, the dedication, the time, and the risks. Every day you took a risk. When you're building a business, you take risks every single day. But sometime at a certain point, we plateau. We become risk averse. We're afraid to take that risk. But that's where the business stalls. It stalls because we get a little fat and happy right now with the business. And then when things change a little bit, we kind of shy back a little bit. Maybe we don't hire that next $100,000 technician because I'm in protection zone now. I'm not moving the business, I'm not moving the needle in the right way. So I want to be really careful about this. So we stay inside that comfort zone. But the extreme ownership, when you look at it, that business depends 100% on you. If the employee doesn't work out, whose fault is that? Well, you trained them, you picked them. If you don't like your customers and the customers aren't coming in, they're not the right kind of customer coming in the door, Well, look in the mirror, as Gerry said. The man in the mirror is the guy who allowed them in. You're the one that did the marketing, the advertising. You priced your services the way you did. All of those things. Just get to the point where it's up to you if you want to make that change. So get back to the courage thing. We got to harness the courage that got us into this business to begin with, and understand we need to keep that going every single day if we want to keep the business moving in the right direction. Because the minute we stop, we start sliding backwards. There is no going forward.
Yeah.
You have to keep that momentum going.
That's a great point. Great book, by the way, Jocko Willink on extreme ownership. I want to make a comment on the audio thing that you said, Ron.
Mm-hmm.
We did an episode a while back. It was episode Town Hall Academy 378, was back in May, and it was on dyslexia.
Did you look that up, or do you remember that?
I just looked it up.
Okay, good. I was going to say that. You said all these things going through your mind. I just want to make sure that you're not this brilliant mind here.
Ron, you called me out and I told you the truth.
Okay.
Of course, I remember the episode like it was yesterday, but I didn't remember the number, right? And I remember that Nicole O'Feisch, PhD, was on with Bill Greeno. And I wanted to do this episode because 20% of America, North America people are dyslexic. And a shop owner brought it to me because he was dyslexic. And I said, it would be a great episode. There was a couple of golden nuggets that came out of that episode that I love to share with people. And I want to mention it to you now. Ron said he loved the audiobook. You got to listen to the audiobook. And when people say, hey, did you ever read Extreme Ownership? No, but I listened to it. And she says, never say that. Never say that. You need to say, you read it. Listen or read, they're the same thing. I was very taken. It's a profound statement to be, hey, did you read Extreme Ownership? No, I listened to it. What's the big deal? You got the book, so you read it. And I just want to pass that off. I think it's a cool takeaway, golden nugget from that episode.
So I've technically read a lot of books then.
Yeah, there you go. See? Yeah, you've read them. Everyone says, oh my God, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to listen to a ton of books. No, you're going to read a ton of books. I just want to preface that because listening versus reading is the same thing. In fact, people will tend to listen to the end when they're listening versus they get 3/4 through the book and they finding a boring section and they close it up and they put it on the shelf. And I remember speaking to an author one day, I don't know, we're going off a neat rabbit hole here. And the author says, I'm interviewing him. He's on his couch and he's got 5 books right next to him. And I said, are you reading all of those? He says, I'm at different variations in every one of those books. And I says, do you read all of them complete? And he goes, no. He says, once I got what I came for, I closed the book up and I'm gone. So I just want to share that with everyone because leaders are readers. John Maxwell again.
Yeah, we all learn differently. I'm a reader.
Me too.
The physical book reader. And I love my Kindle because the great thing about Kindle is you can highlight all of that. And then I email myself the notes. It keeps them kind of front and center, but we all learn different ways. One of the things I was thinking about, so we talked about sales, profit, courage, all of that stuff. And we kind of got stuck on that courage thing and kind of mixed that in with leadership. And I think that's what a shop owner really needs to grow into, because what does that provide? Freedom. I see these poor shop owners putting in 50, 60 hours a week and more. How many of them were working on this past holiday weekend instead of spending time with their family because the shop is busy? Oh, I can't do it. I got to do that. I think one of the pyramids or one of the key points in growing as a leader is not teaching people how to do it, teaching people how to think. What would Gerry do, right? My name is spelled with a G, right? But we've all heard the expression WWJD, what would Jesus do? And I kind of took a spin on that in my shop and just made it funny. What would Gerry do? Because if I can teach him how to think, it sets me free.
What would Gerry do? I've done some episodes with people and they've used that. So if they got that from you, that's great. But how do we get out of that block of ego? And I'm not saying that ego is bad in these particular cases, but ego can prevent you from making very positive, courageous decisions to move your business forward. As clients, how do you help? Ron, I've seen your stuff. I've read it. People are recommending. I come to you and here I am. I mean, do you lay them up on the couch and become psychologists to find out what's the barriers to high performance?
Sometimes it takes that, yes, to get them on the couch and get into the head, because again, ultimately it comes down to the owner taking action on what's going on. So what we'll wind up doing, he's the whiz with the numbers. So first and foremost, he wants to look at the business, find the health of the business, find out, where the biggest holes in those buckets are so we can focus on that. Gerry he's the numbers guy. I'm the marketing and the mindset guy, because you have the marketing part of it. But, again, we're down to the owner. He's got to make those changes on there. So by identifying where the holes are, where the biggest holes are, and what he needs to do next, then it's a matter of sometimes it's baby steps. And other times it's just being part of a community of other people who have done the same thing. Oh, I did that. Yeah, I was scared to death to do that. But these guys were right, and when you hear that, it helps your courage when everybody else is moving in the right direction and everybody else has slayed those same dragons you're trying to slay. And the stories and things that inside a coaching group, or we can relay stories of other clients that we've worked with. Again, that's one of those things that I think is vitally important for the courage to move things in the right direction, to keep going in the right and taking the right steps, the right actions on the right things, is to be part of a community. When you're going on your own, it's a scary place. You're on an island all by yourself. But when you're in some sort of a community where people can share their successes, it makes it a whole lot easier. Nobody wants to be the first person to ever do something ever in life, right?
Ron, the community that you're speaking of, you're not talking about a wide open 10,000 person community. You're talking about a niche community of people that are in the same, if you will, maybe not leaky bucket, but same bucket of life's challenges, the evolution of their business. And I've seen unbelievable amounts of peer success review, encouragement happen when that community is tight.
You're playing from the same playbook.
Yeah.
When you go online, and this is not to knock anything that, information that people are giving online, they're giving the best. Nobody's harming anybody by the information they have, but everybody's situation is different. And they're saying, here's what worked for me. But their business may not be set up the right way. They may not have the same quality of employees, or maybe they have much better employees. But when you're in a smaller community and everybody's playing from the same playbook, you deal with the same challenges at the same time in the same progression. It's not a matter of you're just going to go from here and jump all the way to the top. You have to go up the ladder. You got to, fix this and fix this next after that. And it's easy when somebody can say, I did that. They're reaching back and grabbing their hand and saying, let me help you up to this next level. And when you got 20 people doing the same thing because they just went through that exact same level, again, back to the courage, it makes it so much easier to progress. There's also the peer review that everybody else is looking at it. And if somebody's being left behind, somebody's going to jump down and give them a push. But if you're on your own, where do you find that? How do you get that every single day on your own, that I'm going to do something different? I'm going to do something I've never done before, and I'm going to believe in it, and I'm going to make that part of my business. It's really hard to make that decision every single day.
Guys, let's try to put a bow on this episode, and I'm going to ask an interesting question about overcoming the pressure of an accountability partner. I've never had anyone tell me what to do, never had anyone shape the direction with me, help me in this degree. I don't want to expose the fact that I'm not that good in this particular area, or I'm weak over here. And I know that's ego, but in my mind, when you join a coaching group, when you join a peer group, there becomes an accountability thing and this peer pressure thing. And I don't know if I can overcome it. Final words as to how we can help people with this so that our industry continues to get better.
Well, if I can speak to that just real briefly, I use some specific software, but it's the concept that's important. After we review the numbers, of course, we got to review the numbers. But
Of course,
after we
Gerry.
review the numbers, we're taking a look at 90-day goals. I believe I'm a big 90-day goal person. So try
All
to
right.
look at what that shop needs in those 90-day goals. We talk about the issues they have, and then we prioritize them. There may be 10 issues on the playbook, that month, and we try to prioritize the biggest one. And then we come up with an action plan, what we're going to get done. And then, kind of like raise my hand and swear, hey, I'm going to get this done. And it's the commitment that by the next time we meet, I'm going to have this done. And that's where the growth really kind of takes place. Everybody, look, if you came right down to it, everybody says, I need somebody to hold me accountable. I do in my personal life and in my business life. And that's what a good coach will do for you.
Step one, I pledge to Gerry.
To speak to your question on that, get over it. That's one of those things that you mentioned ego, and that's really what it is. You have to understand it's your ego. You don't know what you don't know. Having an accountability partner, having somebody there to kind of hold your feet to the fire is what a lot of people need. That's outside the comfort zone. Nobody, the success lies one step outside that comfort zone. If you stay in it, shy away from that accountability, you're always going to be where you're going to be, where you are right now. You're not going to be able to step out. It is one of those things you just almost have to get over and just set the ego aside and say, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. You're telling me to do something. I'm going to prove you wrong. And chances are you're not going to prove them wrong because it's coming from experience.
Wow. Healthy to have an accountability partner and to have the courage to accept it and to do what this individual believes in you. I mean, God, there's the big one right there. I mean, Gerry, Ron, if you didn't believe in a client, you wouldn't have them. And that's got to be a huge part of having an accountability partner, is that this guy believes I can do this.
Yeah,
wow.
we self-select. We select the people that we want to work with because, again, for that very reason, because we are going to be working with them. We're going to be a vital part of who we're working with them for the next 90 days. We need to get them past that. So there's got to be trust.
Wow. Key critical takeaways, huge golden nuggets in this episode, guys. Maverick shop owners, Ron Ipach, Gerry Frank. I love this. It all started with a leaky bucket and some Band-Aids, and we ended up changing the world. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Carm.
Thanks for having us.